Alrighty, we are live here at Moneyline MMA. Yes, we do understand that it is Sunday, not Monday. Jose and I coming with a surprise live on a Sunday afternoon just because of schedules this week. It's going to work out better for us to get this show out on Monday, or Sunday, excuse me, as opposed to our usual Monday schedule. So if you're coming to our channel, of course, on Monday, I hope you were able to navigate to the live tab and see that we already went live today and just watch the video over from there. Of course, it'll be a normal show today. Quickly recapping what went on yesterday in this case, and then giving picks for UFC Vegas 105, headlined by Josh Emmett and Lerone Murphy. This will be the last fight night card we get before the much anticipated UFC 314, in which we're going to see Diego Lopez and Alex Volkanovski duke it out. But that said, before we get too deep into things for this coming Saturday, let's quickly jump in to what happened yesterday. Unfortunately, we had one of the more confident, in fact, I believe it was the lock of the week, had to back out of the fight card due to illness. That is, of course, Joe Pyfer. It was quite disappointing. I know that was my 5 weight, and Jose was also pretty confident in Joe Pyfer, so that's tough for us. It is what it is. Of course, that any bets made on him were push, and you get the money back, or the leg removed if it was in a parlay. But still would have loved to see Pyfer get in there. I guess I'm glad he didn't fight out at all, instead of outright go in there sick and look like crap and just make us look disappointed even worse. But other than that, essentially my 4 weight, which was Raul Rosas Jr., slides up to 5 weight, and he dominates, gets Vince Morales out of there by unanimous decision. And, at worst, lost 1 round. I thought he did pretty well otherwise against Vince Morales. And then my 3 weight turned 4 weight, Brandon Moreno. And I know Jose's very confident pick in Brandon Moreno was able to come through. I know I specifically said on the show over on rounds. And look at that. It goes to decision. Kind of new. I feel like anyone who's watched Brandon Moreno now for years and years, we know who Steve Verseg is too. I think we knew that those guys were going to be very tough to put out, and neither one of them are really like absolute power strikers. And Brandon Moreno was able to push the pace and win this by unanimous decision. I mean, there's nothing much else to note there. Brandon Moreno definitely seems to be at the top of the division with Figgy gone. It's really going to be him and Pantoja, it seems like. We'll have to see what can come of that if they're going to fight again. But in any case, the last note, probably worth saying, 2 quick other notes, is the one loss we had. The only disappointing part of yesterday was Melquizel Costa beating C-Rod, and honestly in a very boring fashion. I think Costa did what he probably needed to do in terms of realizing that C-Rod was kind of piecing him up on the feet, and Costa just kind of pushed him up against the fence and went for wrestling exchanges pretty much the entire fight. So we'll have to keep that in mind going forward for Costa. If he's fighting somebody who has the chops to keep him on the feet, Costa's going to get pieced up. He is not a good striker, but he does like to push that pace and wrestle a lot. Final note on yesterday's fights, Manuel Torres. Wow. I know Jose and I were also on Manuel Torres. I had a 2 weight, moved up to 3, and wow, he ends up getting a nice little jab combo in which Dober like falls forward and like goes for his leg, like as if he's gonna like go for a takedown, but Dober ends up taking like 2 shots to the side of the head and gets knocked out, but still takes another like 9 or 10 shots after that before the referee stopped the fight. So Dober, you hope his brain is okay, man, because he got knocked out, came to, and maybe even got knocked out again, came to, and when the ref ended the fight, he thought he was still fighting, and he was like fists up, ready to keep fighting. So kind of a crazy scene in that fight, but Manuel Torres getting the finish in any case. Jose, any thoughts on yesterday's fights?
Yeah, overall, was very impressed by like all our wins, especially the Manny Torres fight. Because he was my 1 weight, because I thought Drew Dober was going to be just a lot, he's traditionally hard to put out, so historically I should say so. And Manny just, the way he just put him out, and then the way he was, Drew Dober was like, after the fight ended, like, go dazed and confused. It's like, wow, like that literally proved me wrong. I'm happy I picked him, and he just surprised me because I thought he was actually gonna. I said on the show, I think he's gonna make it to the second or third round, and that's the only time I'm kind of worried because what is he gonna do when he can't put Drew Dober out? But I guess we won't know because he did. And then again, and then same with the C Rod. Just disappointed how the fight played out. He had his opportunity and he lost it with that Darce. Just the way it just couldn't fully lock it in, and that was like this one opportunity I think he could have won to secure the fight. But other than that, not exciting fights, and not exciting obviously to see our boy lose. So that being said, like, and then the Joe Piper thing too, just overall, that was just I don't even want to talk about him too much, but that was just really disappointing. So that being said, yeah, was just really impressed, but most impressed with the Manny Torres win.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, man. Joe Piper a little disappointing. Like I said, still glad he didn't fight sick and lose, but unfortunate. We'll see when he gets back in there. But regardless, let's move on to our fights for fight picks. That is for this coming Saturday. Just as a quick reminder to anyone who might be new, we make our picks here at Moneyline and MMA in terms of weight. So Jose and I have separately picked 5 fights on the coming UFC Vegas 105 card. And of those 5 picks, we have chosen a weight for each, 1 to 5, and 5 being the most confident and 1 being the least confident. So 5 weight essentially is our lock of the week. 1 weight's the least confident of the 5 picks we've made. And we'll always start in order of most confident. So that'll be my 5 weight for this Saturday afternoon. Get right into it. Is actually going to lie in the main event. I'm going to be taking the main event favorite, Lerone Murphy, here against Josh Emmett as my 5 weight. Lerone Murphy's currently minus 330 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Josh Emmett plus 240. That's a bit steep for sure. So I'm taking this pick as more of just a confidence aspect. I think this fight stays on the feet. It's pretty straightforward in my opinion. Josh Emmett and Lerone Murphy really aren't the kinds of guys to go on the ground and get submissions. In fact, Emmett does have 2 submissions under his belt, but it's not something he relies on whatsoever, especially really in the UFC. He's lost by submission in the UFC more than he's won by submission. So that's saying I expect this to stay on the feet. Lerone Murphy is just very tactical, right? He's got 7 KO wins in 15 wins. So essentially that means he gets the KO or he gets the decision, 8 decision wins. And I think he's too tactical for Josh Emmett here. Josh Emmett no doubt has power. And that's the one thing that Lerone Murphy's going to have to avoid in this. That's the only way I see Josh Emmett winning, in my opinion. Maybe there's a morsel of a chance that he lands a big shot and like damage ends up getting him around. But in any case, I think Lerone Murphy's too tactical. He's going to be able to stay at distance. You know, as much as I respect Josh Emmett's power, I don't think he's a better overall boxer. And we haven't even discussed the fact that he's now 40 years old. Josh Emmett is at the end of his run as a UFC fighter. He's had his chance, I believe, in my opinion, to get that championship belt. And he wasn't able to get it. And I'm sorry to say that I don't think he's going to be running back because Lerone Murphy's going to get in the way first. So 5 weight here on Lerone Murphy, even though he's a pretty heavy favorite. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, Nick. So for this one, I have Lerone Murphy as well. He is my 4 weight. I feel really strong about him. As a matter of fact, I probably should have bumped him up to my 5 weight. And like you said, Josh Emmett, he's got scary power. But like again, he's also getting up there in age, and he put out Bryce Mitchell up, but Bryce Mitchell, we know his grappling he's not really like the best striker. It's more of his grappling. And Lerone Murphy, on the other hand, he's got phenomenal striking, and so he's going to go toe to toe on the feet with Josh Emmett. And I think overall he's going to have better defense. He's going to get hit less than Josh Emmett. And the thing is, if Josh Emmett does, he can, even though he's 40, he still can, clip Lerone Murphy, and it just takes that one hard hit for it to be lights out. But I just think Lerone Murphy has a high kickboxing IQ that it's not really going to be that much of an issue, and he's going to be able to secure a win, maybe even get a TKO or KO on Josh Emmett. But overall, I think he's going to win this fight majorly on the feet, and ultimately, if it makes it to the end, unanimous decision. So this one, I feel really good about Lerone Murphy. He's my 4 weight.
All right, so that's probably going to be the lock of the week then, unless we have another swap with your 5 weight, my 4 weight. Lerone Murphy sounds pretty confident, and for largely the same reasons there. Not going to knock Josh Emmett, respect the power, but I do think that's his one way to victory here, and I think Lerone Murphy's aware of that. Like you said, beating Bryce Mitchell is great and all, but we're also looking at Lerone being the more active fighter. He's won twice in 2024 against Barboza and Dan Ige, both really good wins, if you ask me. And Josh Emmett took all of 2024 off. I don't know if he's recovering from injury, actually. I'm not too aware of what was going on there, or if he just needed some time off. But in any case, I'm just not looking at the guy that's less active here and older. That said, we can move on then to Jose's 5-weight.
Yeah, so for my 5-weight, honestly, I don't even know if I want to talk about this 5-weight anymore. I just don't. I was going back and forth on it, and just with this card, so this is gonna be a big switch up. I haven't done this before, but I'm complete scratching that fight. Don't want to talk about it. Um, and reason is I'm gonna talk about this bantamweight fight because we did slightly talk about this before the fight, and I was considering this as a higher weight, but I am gonna go with Chang Ho Lee. And the reason is because he will be my 5-weight, and I'm gonna stick with it. I just think overall he's definitely he's gonna be the better striker and even grappler when it comes to this matchup. I think Octavius Romeos is a little hectic when he throws just his his haymakers and looking almost like spraying praying, and how they match up odds wise is in terms of the betting odds right now for this fight. Right now, my bad. Right now, Chang Ho Lee is the betting favorite at -170, while Cortavius Firmus is the betting underdog at +132. I think Cortavius is just going to get out grappled and ultimately ground and pound it, and we'll lose this. Yeah, either KO or TKO, or a unanimous decision. I just don't think he hasn't really done much in the UFC yet. Just his actual UFC debut, he lost by unanimous decision. While Chang Ho Lee, he's already shown himself to be a finisher within the UFC, even though his wins aren't the biggest. I just think overall, his experience and even his size compared to Cortavius is going to be just beneficial, and he's just ultimately just I think going to take the win. So this is my true 5-weight. I was too contemplating the other ones, but I can't have that as my 5-weight if I'm back and forth really. So and this is a fight I was really considering, and I was definitely on the Chang Ho Lee side. So he is my 5-weight. Do you have any thoughts on this one, Nick?
Man, I will say, so I don't have an official weight on this fight, but I can say that there's no doubt in my mind that this seems a little weird. This seems like one of the weirdest things I've honestly seen in terms of like not only position on the card, but like the odds just seem to be like there must be something I'm missing in terms of Cortavius Romeus. Like I don't know. He's got a win in LFA. He got a Contender Series win, but he lost his first Contender Series chance. That was his second Contender Series chance. So he gets a contract, and then he loses to Gaston Bolaños by decision. Like, that's not like he lost to, like, a future champion. He lost to Gaston Bolaños by decision, and he's now a feature fight on this UFC Vegas card, which I get that it's an Apex card, so it's not that big of a deal. But he's a feature fight, and the odds show that he's only +132. Like, who in their right mind is taking their hard-earned money and going, yeah, that's a good value on Cortavius Romeus? Like, I want to shake that person's hand and ask them, what am I missing about this? Like, what have I missed in this scenario? Because Chang Hong Lee is also the bigger fighter. It seems that he has more experience. Like, I don't know. It's nothing adds up in my mind. Nothing adds up whatsoever. So you might as well, put me down as definitely supporting Chang Hong Lee, even though I don't have a weight on it. It just seems so weird to me. Like we're gonna get a fucking documentary about this one at some point in 2 years because there's gonna be some sort of like fallout from like some betting scandal because this is just weird.
Yeah, this one, that's why like I was like just off like I just some of these fights in general on this card, I just looked at like was questioning the odds and also just the matchups too. Some of them really close, too close to call, and some of them like I don't know what are some people seeing that I'm not like. But in this one for sure, Chang Ho Lee like he himself though like I feel confident that he's going to be the better grappler in this one. I like Cortavius. He's got like his submissions. I don't think he's gonna submit Chang Ho Lee at all. And if it goes to the decision, 100%, I'm taking Chang Ho Lee's side. Um, on this one, but I do think he's also going to just be able to out grapple Cortavius. So that being said, like I feel that good that he's going to dominate many different aspects of the game. So I'm going with Ching Ho Lee as my 5 weight. Yeah, so sorry about the switch up last minute on that, but I just knew this one like I had a more confident than the other one that I was contemplating. So because the other one is like, yo, one's either gonna obviously win unanimous decision, or the other one's gonna put him to sleep. But then I'm like, like, so that's why I just want to stay away from the other fight I was gonna talk about. But that being said, yeah, I got Ching Ho Lee as my 5 weight.
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's whatever you're most confident in, man. So that's all we're about, man. As long as it's the pick you're most confident about, then it belongs at the 5 weight position. So that's that, and we shall move on to my 4 weight pick. And my 4 weight pick is gonna lie in what's now actually it's a heavyweight fight between a guy who hasn't been a heavyweight his whole career and a guy who has. But I'm actually gonna be picking the guy who hasn't been a heavyweight his whole career. Yes, that means I'm picking Kennedy and Nchekwu. Kennedy, he's a guy that I haven't always been on his side. He's a guy that's gone between light heavyweight, heavyweight, and I've picked for him. I've picked against him. I'm picking him on this side, and it's really because I just don't think Martin Buday is great. I think Martin Buday is honestly average at best, and he's kind of slow. I feel like he has a negative striking differential, and that's not a good thing at all. What is he now? He's 6-1 in the UFC, but he beats guys like Chris Barnett and Lucas Brzezinski, which is actually the same guy that Kennedy just knocked out in the first round. But what did Buday do? Split decision. Split decision. Wait, excuse me? He landed 66 strikes and Brzezinski landed 118. And guess who won? Not Brzezinski. That's crazy. Martin Buday is nowhere near as good as Kennedy and Nchekwu. It's simple as that. You could almost say my 5 and 4 weight are interchangeable here. Kennedy and Nchekwu is going to come in and clean up Martin Buday. It's not even going to be close. Kennedy does not have a smaller frame. In fact, Kennedy's just as tall and just as long, in fact, longer than Buday. He might not weigh 265, but wrestling isn't going to come into play here. It's not going to matter. Kennedy's going to come in here and clean him up. It's that simple as that. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, I agree with you. 100% on Kennedy Nchekwu. He's my 2 weight. Just because he hasn't fought, like as you mentioned, at heavyweight before. So to me, that was the only thing that I kind of questioned. And like last time, I think it was Ryan. Was it Ryan? I think it was Ryan Spann that went up to heavyweight, or someone like the last guy that went up to heavyweight. I sided with him, and he just didn't go his way. So, and it's just because of the heavyweight. It's how does the power go from light heavyweight to heavyweight? Like, will it transfer? Because it doesn't always transfer as much because the bigger guys could kind of absorb those hits a little more. So that was the only thing I kind of questioned it. So that's why I have Kennedy as my 2 weight. But that being said, yeah, like it's also like his level of competition is Martin Buday, and like he has that win over Andre Alaska, but split decision over an old man is crazy. And then Shamil is like I guess a respectable loss, but also I believe he is also he's 35, so I'll give him that. But that being said, yeah, like Charles Persian, Jake Collier, yeah, like Chris Barnett, Lucas Brzezinski, like you mentioned, like these are, wow, like getting those wins doesn't really say much at all. Like you should, like yes, you should have beaten them. Like looking at that, like if they're like looking at that resume, like yeah, you should have beaten them. So Shamil, they obviously tested him after Josh Persian. They tested him with Shamil and he didn't pass. And then they probably gave him like someone who's equal, like if not or if not in Andre Arlovski, and he barely beat him. So yeah, and then so not to really hate on him like that, but like I'm just saying, like yeah, just not impressed really by his heavyweight competition. And while Kennedy, he's being the same dudes, and even more impressively, to be honest, finishing them both early on in the first round. So yeah, like that being said, uh, yeah, like I'm going with Kennedy 100% on that. And my bad, I said he hasn't fought at heavyweight before, but like, yeah, actually I've seen that. Yeah, he has,
Right.
indeed, because he's got those guys. So,
Yep. Yep.
but he's moved up. Yeah, so he actually, my bad, I do take that back. He has proven it though. He has proven it. But those guys too, again, like he should have beaten them. So, but he's just done a lot more impressive.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he does the same thing to Martin Buday and finish him in the first round as well. So via TKO. I literally see it that way. So he is my 2-way
Right.
on that one.
Yeah. That's the only thing I was going to clarify is that he has he fought he fought a lot of guys. Like he fought like Carlos Alberg and Paul Craig and Ion Kudalaba, Justin Jacoby. He fought a lot of dudes at light heavyweight and then moved up in 2024. Actually, he said, "Screw it, I'm moving up." And honestly, I think he has a heavyweight frame. Like he's honestly I hate to say like John Jones in the frame, but because John Jones actually kind of is a bigger guy, but I feel like he's like if John Jones did a little bit more cardio and cut down to like 235, like still tall, still like perfectly capable of fighting in heavyweight. And I agree. Like I believe I forget if it was Ryan Spann, but yeah, the last guy who went up from light heavyweight I picked against and I was correct. And I feel like I'm agreeing with you on this one though. Like Kennedy should be able to get the job done because in the last case it was like a way less of a good stylistic matchup for Ryan Spann. It was like a dude who will take him down and wrestle him. Like, you know, at a heavyweight, you don't want to mess with that. Like, if Kennedy has to fight a heavyweight wrestler, I'm not picking Kennedy. As simple as that. He'll get taken down and smothered.
100%. Yeah, like if he got
Like
paired up
Curtis
with
Blades. Yeah. You know, or it would be no. Yeah, I wouldn't even bother.
but Blades is kind of chinny though, so
He
that'd be
is,
a fun one.
yeah, he is. But either way, we'll agree on that. And with that said, then we can go to Jose's three-weight.
And my three-weight is the middleweight bout between Brad Tavares and Gerald Meerschaert. For this one, Brad Tavares, he is the betting favorite at minus 250, while Gerald Meerschaert is the betting underdog at plus 190. For this one, I'm going for the underdog, Gerald Meerschaert. I barely ever bet against him, and to be honest, I barely ever bet against Gerald Meerschaert, and I almost always bet against Brad Tavares. It's actually crazy. So the fact that I'm seeing him as the underdog is like, to me, I'm like, I don't know how. Like that doesn't really make sense to me. Like I'm just double checking to make sure that is correct. That yeah, he is the Jeremy Sharp betting underdog 190 plus 190. Brad Tavares betting favorite at minus 250. So yeah, I'm definitely 100% all in on the underdog. He's my three-weight, and I think even though Brad Tavares he's never been submitted before, honestly, like and maybe that's what's really why he is the favorite is because he's never been submitted before, and is maybe there's not like a lot of confidence that Joe Mitchell will be able to do it, but I think so. Brad Tavares is a good kickboxer, I will say. So maybe like the viewing to him TKO or KO Jeremy Mearshart, especially after he himself got submitted by Rainer D. Ritter. So but on the feet, like he's proven many times to deal with better kickboxers than them. Like for example, Edmund Shabazian. Edmund Shabazian is a really good kickboxer, and he was able to deal with them and get a submission on him when it went to the ground. He does get pieced up. He as long as they don't have like that crazy power like Joe Pyfer or Khamzat Shemaev, he's gonna be able to withstand those hits. And Brad Tavares, he really doesn't. He's not really that type of guy to really go and finish someone that quick. Within the first round, like he does have a few, like one over Edmund Shabbat. Well, he actually got finished by Edmund Shabbat in the first round, but yeah, he's not really actually like that type of guy to win right away off the first round. If anything, most of his wins have been coming in the later rounds, like in the third round. So yeah, like I'm not worried that Joe Mershaw will be finished early by Brad Tavares at all. I think he's gonna get clipped on the feet a few times, but ultimately, I think he's just gonna win the grappling exchanges and find a way to get a submission. So I got the underdog Joe Mearshart as my three-weight. What are your thoughts on this one, Nick?
I got Brad Tavares. I got him as a one-weight, so we'll disagree on this one. I'm a little less confident with the one-weight, but I like Brad Tavares here because you said it yourself. He hasn't been submitted before, and I feel like he's kind of been put through a few scenarios in which he's fought guys that could have submitted him. And I don't know. There's a lot of strikers in his resume for sure. But no doubt about it, Brad Tavares is not an easy guy to submit, and I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't think he, being Gerald Meerschaert, is going to be able to just take him down and find a submission like that. I think Brad Tavares is a better boxer. So what I like here is that Brad Tavares keeps the fight on the feet. He has an 80% takedown defense in his extensive UFC career. He's fought a ridiculous amount of UFC fights and have 80% takedown defense, like I said, I don't think he's going to be easy to take down. I don't think he's going to be easy to submit by any means. And I do believe that he's a better boxer than Meerschaert. I'll give Meerschaert credit. And he's a guy that I've historically picked too. Like he's a guy that you and I have historically loved. I love Jared Meerschaert. What do you mean? I'm not like actively rooting against him, but when it comes to picking a guy, I just don't think it's the kind of style that Meerschaert's going to need to be able to get a win here. I mean, of Meerschaert's like last 8 wins, it's all been by submission. It's like if he doesn't get the submission, he doesn't win the fight. And I'm sad to say that I don't think he's submitting Brad Tavares here at all. I think Brad Tavares is the better boxer. His 80% takedown offense. I mean, Jared Meerschaert only lands 35% of his takedowns. I mean, that's not good. He's shooting lazy takedowns. His technique isn't that good, in my opinion. I think Brad Tavares is going to be all over it. And that fight stays on the feet. So you might as well also say Brad Tavares and over 2.5. I think he wins by decision, to be exact.
No, I see. Yeah, if Brad Tavares, if he gets going though too. He can even win by TKO himself. He could possibly finish Jared Meerschaert. But yeah, this is one we're definitely gonna disagree on. I'm still leaning on Joe Meerschaert to get. He will get beaten up, but yeah, he's kind of like he's got that just like almost chill jujitsu type where he's not forcing the submissions, but he's consistently looking for them. And so if it does end up going to the ground at any point, you mentioned Brad Tavares will most likely want to keep it on the feet, but if it does, I think right there is where Joe Meerschaert is probably gonna shine. Brad Tavares may try to out wrestle him and just pin him down too. I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. But yeah, we're gonna disagree on this one. Both guys just have been in the UFC for a long time and just a lot of experience under their belts. So really, just you got two veterans, one a striker and one predominantly a grappler. So excited for this matchup. But yeah, one we'll disagree on.
All right, sounds good, man. And if Meerschaert gets the job done, I'm happy for him, man. I'd rather lose a one weight than any other of my weights, of course, but I still want to go 5-0 every week I can. So I'll just be kind of watching that fight, and either outcome I'll have some reason to be somewhat happy. But that said, we only have a couple fights left. We have my 3-weight, my 2-weight, and Jose's 1-weight. Let's go to my 3-weight. Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini is going to be fighting Joe Anderson Brito in the co-main event, featherweight. And Joe Anderson Brito is historically a guy that I've been on the side of. He's honestly won me a decent amount of money. Joe Anderson Brito is kind of a stud, and he just kind of dominates. Like, I'll never forget Jack Shore. I believe it was Jack Shore's shin. He just kicked him so many times in his shin that it just opened up this big gash. Like, it was nuts. It was like this dude's toe did that. Jeez. Brito's a minus 235 favorite and Sabatini's plus 180. So part of this pick is value. I feel like Pat Sabatini is an absolute dog. Pat Sabatini is like Gerald Meerschaert, but like way better. Like, it's crazy. Pat Sabatini will go in there. He'll actually land the takedown. He'll methodically go up on your back and submit you. He's done it time and time again with different submissions, and he often does grappling competitions outside of the UFC as well, and he's just dominating people in the grappling competitions. It's crazy. Pat Sabatini is a dog. Joe Anderson Brito, to me, if he's going to win this fight, has to win it on the feet, and I'm not convinced that he's going to stay there long enough to get the win on the feet. His striking differential is positive, but barely. He lands 3 strikes per minute and almost takes 3. I'm not convinced. He lost his fight against William Gomez, mainly because he couldn't outstrike Gomez. And I don't think if he can outstrike Gomez that he's going to be able to go in and beat Pat Sabatini, who's going to be putting on one of the strongest paces he's ever fought in the UFC. So as much as I like Joe Anderson Brito, I still see him as a pretty good prospect in the UFC. He's coming off a tough loss, and he's fighting a even tougher opponent, in my opinion. Pat Sabatini's just going to come in here and slowly, methodically maul him over the course of 3 rounds. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, so this was one of the other fights that was really tough to judge for me. I'm going to differ with you on this one. I have Joe Anderson Brito on this one. But he is my 1-weight, just because Pat Sabatini is just, yeah, he's like you said, he's just an extremely dangerous fighter. Probably, I definitely think I agree with you on it. Like, better than William Gomez, and I'm actually genuinely surprised to see how like much of an underdog Pat Sabatini is in this matchup. Being a plus 180 underdog is crazy. I feel like it definitely the line should be a lot closer than that. And so I like. Pat Sabatini is definitely a solid pick as well. That's why Joe Anderson Brito is my 1-weight though too. But Jonathan Brito, though, even though he's coming off that loss to William Gomez, is like he's also just coming out like a couple split wins and losses, but regardless, other than that, getting the wins over that TKO, he did get a TKO stoppage win over Jack Shore, but then also submitting Jonathan Pierce and KOing Weston Wilson in the first round, and also Andre Feely, which may not is can say what I'm saying, like may not say a lot, I guess, because Andre Fili doesn't really have that much of a chin, but he did beat Diego Lopez back in the day at Dana White's Contender Series in 2021, and even has win over in the LFA, knocking out Chepe in the first round, Jose Chepe Mariscal in the first round. So, um, he does, out of his 17 wins, 8 wins, 7 submissions, just a very well-versed fighter. I think Pat Sabatini and him are going to be a little more equal, I think, when it comes to the grappling department. But I think that when it comes to striking, yeah, I think Anderson Brito is probably going to have the slight edge on it. And he does have a 2-inch reach advantage over Pat Sabatini. So not sure how much that's going to play a role. But I think, like, if as long as they're on the feet, I think Anderson Brito will get the slight advantage when it comes to the grappling department. That I honestly think goes either way, to be honest. But I think I think he'll be well enough to not get submitted. He'll do well enough to not get submitted by Pat Sabatini and at least make it to a decision. Out of his 4 losses, he did get submitted once, but that hasn't happened really since. That hasn't even happened. That was his first fight ever back in 2013. So has never been a problem since, and he's gone against dudes like Diego Lopez and been able to not get submitted by him. So that being said, I got Anderson Brito, but he is my one weight because Pat Sabatini is just he's the underdog, but he's a really good underdog in this matchup.
Makes sense, man. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, um, it's fair to what's the word I'm looking for, to concede that like it's good value on a guy, but still not think he's gonna win, right? Pat Sabatini seems to have great value. I think he's gonna win, but I do understand, like, Joe Anderson Brito is a dog too, and I'm a guy that's, like I said, I picked him to beat Jack Shore. I do believe I picked him to beat William Gomez too. So there is that, but I still think that it was a split decision, and Gomez is a boring guy, so it's like a traditional UFC thing to hate on him because he's kind of a boring fighter, but he's still good in the end. Don't want to dog on him, but in any case, it sounds like we'll have our second disagreement then here. Me on Pat Sabatini 3 weight, Jose on Brito 1 weight. If I'm not mistaken, that means Jose's 5 weights are complete. I just have 1 weight remaining, and that's my 2 weight for Saturday afternoon. My 2 weight. I'll be pretty quick here. It's pretty straightforward. Dion Barbosa versus Diana Belbita. This is pretty simple. Dion Barbosa is, of course, my 2 weight pick. She's about minus 500, so that's part of the reason I didn't want to put it higher up on the board, is just because it's kind of a what I might even go so far as to kind of say an easy call. I hate to say, when it comes to the UFC, professional fighters, you wouldn't think that really anything is an easy call. But we're talking about Diana Belbita here, in which is coming off a loss to Molly McCann via armbar. I think that kind of explains enough to lose by armbar to Molly McCann, who just got submitted in, I don't know, like 30 seconds by a UFC newcomer. First fight, UFC debut, and got retired because she admitted that it was so bad. I don't know. Dion Barbosa is also coming off a loss, sure, but it's against Miranda Maverick. That's an actually respectable loss to take. Barbosa's going to go in there and clean up Belbita. It's not even going to be close. It'll be easy. I can't necessarily say a finish method. Maybe there isn't a finish because it's women's MMA, but no doubt about it, Dion Barbosa is getting set up with an easy win here.
Yeah, man, this is the second female fight I feel like I see being set up with another win. Like, man, I was just looking at the other fights too, man. Like the other female fights going on, and like the Stella Nunes and Shepishara. I was thinking of doing that fight. I'm like, yo, they're setting up Shepishara for a easy win here. And you're right. This is like easy win, easily for Barboza. I honestly think she just wins this. It's probably gonna be either submission or unanimous decision for sure. Like, yeah, like the only method she's really been finished in is being submitted, and the only method Dan Barboza has seemed to win other than decision is also submission. So yeah, easy
Yeah,
Easy,
man.
easy money on Barboza for sure. So I agree with you on this one.
So he's minus 500 for a reason, but I feel like I still had to put a weight on it just to get myself a little notch in the win column come Saturday afternoon if everything else goes wrong. But yeah, that said, that
I was struggling with my five weights. That could have been. I should have threw that as my five weight or one of those
oh
like
man,
that.
right?
One of
If
those
it's an
female fights. I
easy,
mean, meaty, like, yeah,
it's an easy, yeah. I mean, hey, I guess there
yeah.
aren't any rules on it, man. In all reality, it's professional fighting. Like some of the easiest, some of the easiest fights in history, man, that you thought you would have picked could go wrong. So,
Facts,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
I love a good upset though.
same here, man. Same here. So, but yeah, that said, thanks to anyone who came in here on the Sunday afternoon, watch these picks here at Moneyline MMA. We wanted to get them to you early instead of late. So that said, thanks for watching. We'll of course be back next week. Should be at the normal Monday schedule next week, and that'll be the Monday before UFC 314. Volkanovski will be taking on Diego Lopez to take the winner, of course, getting the vacant belt now that Topuria has moved up to lightweight. So very excited for that card. There's a bunch of nonsense good fights on that card, and we'll make sure to continue our hot streak going into that night, Monday night, for our picks. So thanks again for watching, and have a good week.